Hello, my name is Junyan ZHU, and today I'm going to apply the CAST framework to evaluate a media article which published on a website called Conversation. The selected article, How Newborn Chicks Are Helping to Settle a Centuries-Old Debate About Cognition in Our Senses, authored by Elisabetta Versace. First, let's take a glance into the article. Here are some brief summaries and findings. Researchers conducted experiments where newborn chicks were hatched and kept into complete darkness. They were exposed to either smoothie or bumping tactile stimuli without any visual input. After 24 hours, the chicks were moved into a lit environment with both smoothie and bumping objects. The chicks consistently approached the objects that matched the tactile stimuli they had previously experienced. Chicks' ability to recognize and prefer the objects they had previously only touched suggested that some aspects of sensory integration and cognition are innate. This challenges the notion that such abilities are solely developed through sensory experience. From what we have covered, there has been a long-standing debate in psychology and neuroscience about whether sensory integration and related cognitive abilities are innate or learned through experience. The recent research on newborn chicks suggested that some cognitive abilities related to sensory integration might be innate. These chicks demonstrated the abilities to recognize and prefer objects based on tactile experiences without prior visual exposure, indicating that certain sensory cognitive connections might be pre-wired in the brain. The credibility. The author, Elisabetta Versace, is a researcher at Queen Mary University of London, specializing in cognitive development and comparative psychology. Her expertise and academic affiliation provide significant credibility to this article, ensuring that the content is grounded in scientific knowledge. The Conversation is known for publishing articles written by academics and experts in their fields, ensuring a relatively high level of credibility. The platform's reputation for rigorous editorial standards further enhances the trustworthiness of the article. Additionally, this article is published on 17th May 2024, which has a good timelessness. However, there is no evidence of peer or editorial review process related to this article. The accuracy, evidence, and sources. This article provides detailed descriptions of experimental studies involving newborn chicks, explaining how these studies contribute to understanding sensory integration and cognition. It references both historical debates, such as Molyneux's problem, and contemporary research findings, including studies on sensory perception and cognitive development in animals, factual reporting, and scientific rigor. This article accurately reports on experimental methodologies and results. For instance, it discusses how chicks exposed to tactile stimuli in darkness were able to recognize those stimuli visually once exposed to the light. This design helps isolate the variable of sensory experience and provides strong evidence for innate cognitive abilities, suggesting innate cognitive abilities that do not require prior sensory experience. This aligns with established scientific knowledge on sensory integration. Nevertheless, limited scope. While the article focuses on experiments with chicks, it does not explore similar research in other species extensively. This narrow focus may limit the generalizability of the findings to broader context of sensory integration and cognition in animals and humans. Reasonableness, fairness, and balance. The article presents a balanced view by discussing the historical context of the debate on sensory integration and cognition, as well as contemporary findings. It objectively describes the experiments and their outcomes without overstating the implications. It also acknowledges the limitations and challenges of replicating such studies in humans due to ethical constraints. A more thorough discussion on ethical aspects of using animals in research would provide a more comprehensive perspective. The tone is academic and informative, making complex scientific concepts understandable to a general audience. This approach helps bridge the gap between academic research and public knowledge. It avoids sensationalism, focusing on explaining the scientific processes and significance of the findings in a clear and accessible manner. Support, reference, and citations. This article is well supported by references to both historical and contemporary scientific studies. It cites relevant research to back its claims, providing a strong evidence base for discussion. This includes studies on sensory integration in animals and humans, as well as references to historical debates in philosophy and psychology. This article includes external links to additional resources and related research, allowing readers to explore the topic further. Such transparency helps readers verify the information and gain a deeper understanding of the subject matter, which is the relationship between cognition and sensory integration is a fundamental aspect of how beings interact with their environment. Research continues to explore the extent to which these abilities are innate versus learned, with recent studies suggesting that some level of sensory cognitive integrations might be pre-wired in the brain. This knowledge not only advances our understanding of cognitive science, but also has practical applications in education and developmental support. However, the author's conclusion that certain cognitive abilities are innate based on check behavior may oversimplify the complexity of cognitive development. The article could benefit from a more nuanced discussion on how innate predispositions interact with environmental factors in shaping cognitive abilities. Conclusion. Elisabetta Versace's article offers valuable insights into the ongoing debate about cognition and sensory perception through well-conducted experiments with newborn chicks. It is credible, scientifically rigorous, and accessible to a general audience. However, the article could benefit from a broader scope, deeper ethical considerations, a more nuanced discussion on innate abilities, and an exploration of long-term implications. Despite these limitations, it contributes meaningfully to our understanding of cognitive development and sensory integration.